hot topics now, and mayors in capital cities are warning the government that electricity bills will rise for households if Australia rolls out more AI data centres. They say the current power grid only has limited capacity to energise the power-hungry AI facilities, and that without support, they'd be competing for electricity with business and families. For their take, let's bring in Luke Boner from the Bonafide podcast and commentator.
Good morning.
Weber. Morning to you.
Morning.
Kath, if we're investing more and more into AI, should the government ensure it's not going to take up most of our electricity?
Well, look, I think data centres are a real concern, but the reality is they're not going to be built in these inner city capital cities. So the mayors getting together, if they were asked the question, then sure, but you wonder whether their ratepayers are going, I'd prefer you focus on roads, rates and rubbish, coming from mayors of inner city areas, because the reality is they take up an enormous amount of water. So they're right, it is a concern. They take up an enormous amount of energy. And it is a problem that needs to be looked at. But I think it would be interesting for the ratepayers of these inner city mayors going, not really going to affect your constituents. Fair enough if you were asked the question, but getting together and writing a letter seems a bit odd.
Luke, what do you think about this?
Yeah, well, I have only just found out that AI centres use an enormous amount of power, much more than about 100,000 houses to one AI centre. I mean, the drain is enormous, and they need reliable and continuous amounts of supplies of power. And they do actually get built in clusters. And Sydney and Melbourne are looking at this. Look, I think the writing could be on the wall that any business that wants a DA has to prove that they can supply their own power, massive batteries, I suppose, so long as they don't draw from household capacity. But yeah, AI centres draw huge amounts of power. I didn't realise this, and it's something that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah, you think you're
and it may well bring in the nuclear debate too.
Ask,
exactly.
who won the last F1 or something, and you've drawn down all the power. Exactly. There's always a bit of confusion over all this new stuff, isn't there? We'll have to work.
I know.
Moving on, new data has revealed that there's an increase in parents enrolling into private schools. They've abandoned public education, apparently, in a lot of areas, despite the large fees, and we're in a cost of living crisis. Kath, are you surprised? Because everything's so expensive now.
Not really, because the thing is, the private versus public debate has been around forever, and it's a parent's decision. They might have been in a situation where their child wasn't happy, there was nowhere else to go in that location, and they decided, look, and especially, say, last year, we've had a mortgage cut rise. We're told there's going to be some more relief on the way. We think we can afford it. Do you know the problem now? I feel for these families. Now that's not the case, but it's not like just, OK, I'll cut the budget and cut a streaming service off. Your child is happy. It's going to be the last thing you change, because you can't just switch off the streaming service and save $100, here and there and cut the budget. It is an emotional decision, and you can't just, if your child's happy and found new friends, and if they were having bullying problems at the last school, that's not a quick switch. So I feel for parents who made a decision thinking there was a little bit of certainty, and now it's very uncertain and cost of living has blown through the roof. If your child's been in private schools for 5 years, you can't then just take them out and say, OK, finish year 11 and 12. In a new school.
Luke, something that's not talked about a lot, but I think the figures are huge, something like 3/4 in a lot of areas, is the grandparents are paying for the private school. So it's not coming out of the budget of the parents.
Yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? The grandparents thinking, I want my grandson or daughter to have the best possible education. And in some schools, if your dad and your grandfather went there, you get a big discount. And in some schools, if you have 4 children going there, you get an even bigger discount. But I think
not big discounts in a lot. Sometimes they give you 3% or something.
They give you, I know. But I think also the problem is there's a perception that you get a better education, that you have more say over the curriculum or the way it's taught, and that teachers are held more accountable at private schools than they are in the public sector. I don't know if that's true, but I think that's the perception. And also, just remember this, there's that wonderful thing that only money can buy, and that's the old school tie. That if you meet someone of influence, of a great socio-economic background at a private school, boy, that connection's going to be handy later on in life.
Yeah, and then you look at the, you know how you can tell? You can tell the list at the end of the year on how each school went, with their results. And a lot of the times public schools are right up there.
Absolutely. See,
It's not, here's all the private and there's all the public.
That's right.
They're right up there.
A lot of that has to do with socioeconomic background, but you're 100%.
Yep.
The scholastic results don't really differ between private schools and public schools, but there's a perception it's a better education.
Finally, well, if you've ever been annoyed by someone watching videos on a plane without their headphones, we've got some news for you. United Airlines in the US has just brought in new rules which require passengers to always use headphones when listening to audio or watching videos on personal devices. It's something all passengers have to agree to when they purchase their ticket. If you refuse to comply, you could be removed from the flight or even banned from the airline altogether. Kath, are you in favour?
Yeah, absolutely. How did we get to this point that this has to be actually a rule?
Yes, I know.
Where has common courtesy and etiquette gone to? I don't want to listen to your bad life decisions on the phone before we take off, and I certainly don't want to listen to your bad movie choices or streaming services. And if you're someone who does that, who doesn't have the good manners, chances are you're watching really bad content as well, which would be even more annoying. So it's a bit depressing we've got to the point where you actually have to put a rule around this, I think.
Yeah.
In the terminal, on the train, we went to a restaurant which was quite small recently, and this guy was sitting in the middle of the restaurant talking so loudly, no one could believe it. People were leaving.
I know. It's etiquette. Where did manners go? I don't want to hear your movie. And I think we should up it. Yes, arrest by the AFP immediately and barred for like...
Shackled.
And also for people who hog the armrest, people who stand up when the plane lands when you're 10 minutes away from the gate, arrest them as well. People who hog the carousel, they're out. I'll make a list.
People who think that because they're a few rows back, they're more important and they need to get off first. We could go on.
I can write a list.
We'll sort it out.
Okay.
Get on the line to contest. Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend.